Good afternoon, everyone. Super excited to be here with Jason Rates. We are going to explore our episode 4 of the Frontline referral series, The Language of Listening. Great questions, create great referrals. Just got off the webcast, tons of energy, lots of information. Jason was great as always. So it's great to have him here today to kind of dive a little bit deeper for those that want to learn a little bit more about how we build that culture inside the referral culture inside the financial centers by actively listening. Jason, great to have you here.
Hey, good to be here. Yeah, listening is the unsung hero, and that's what we talked about. And so often, I think, I think because maybe I've experienced it in different organizations, maybe because I know it's human nature, we just don't put a lot of emphasis on getting better at listening. I think maybe as those of us who are starting to age and get older, we're like, I've been doing it the same way forever, but we just can't. We've got to resist that because we've got to model incredible listening skills to our team members so we can inspire them, and it's this ripple effect. And so that's how important listening can be. I love this one.
Yeah, I agree. And look, man, everything around us is just moving so fast, right? I feel it. I guess I don't know why I feel like I'm engaged, but like everything around us is moving fast, and that even our learning processes are speeding up. And it's important for us to remember, especially inside the financial centers, to stop, take a moment and really be intentional with our time when we're sitting with financial, we're sitting with our financial center employees and our clients. I think that's going to be very important going into the future, especially if you want to build that culture of referral. Not only do you have to train yourself to take the time to listen more actively, but you're going to have to help teach the younger generations to really go outside their comfort zone and make the eye contact, connect like we've been talking about for over the last couple episodes, and then really at the end of the day, take that time to slow down and listen to the customer. They're going to give you the cues that you can pick up on to get that referral. And more importantly, they're going to give you cues to have an impact on them, to be able to really connect with them. And I think we see that often. What do you
Yeah,
think,
I,
Jason?
I think sometimes all older generations pick on the younger generations, right? Like, well, in our day, we had to walk up 3 miles, in snow. It's just all part
Both
of it.
ways.
Yes, yes. But one of the interesting things that's really coming out with Gen Z and Generation Alpha, the generation below them, is they have this Gen Z stare because they're so used to staring at this thing. And it's not just them, like us older adults, 350 times a day is the average we pick this thing up. I mean, that it's working against us for our listening skills with our clients, our potential clients. But one of the things so important inside the financial centers, we've got to teach our staff, young or old, when we look at a human being, it's not the same as looking at this device. Because this device, we just stare at it. And we can't just stare at it when we're looking at a human being. And so much of listening is the way that we look at them, the way that we acknowledge their presence, the way that we hold ourselves, the way that we, lean in if we're trying to hear them just a little bit more, the way that we're, one of the things we talked about was like listening for the key words. Because sometimes when we're listening to somebody and they say the same word over and over, and there's like a little emphasis on it every time, we got to pay attention to that. And so that's why this is so important. And we can't, brush it under the rug. We can't go, well, they already know how to listen. No, we have to keep bringing it up because, like we've talked about in further previous ones, vision leaks. For whatever reason, you can have the biggest, giantest, most captivating vision ever, but it leaks at times. And so the moment that you're tired of hearing yourself cast a vision means that you just have to keep casting it more and more and more and more. And that's why this message is so pivotal of the four we've done. They each build on top of each other. And we've just got to raise the level of listening.
So let's dive into active listening. You had shared a great slide during our webcast and our presentation. If you want to pull that up, I think there was five, right? No, four, four, four. I guess steps to actively listening inside the financial
Yep.
center. I
Yep.
mean, I love these. I think this is a great place to start today. So, I mean, obviously, you just mentioned, about giving the full attention, and what does that look like? Full attention really is taking time to really listen and understand what the client is telling you. And
Mm.
that's something we're going to talk a little bit more about and really help you kind of bring back to your financial centers to kind of learn how to educate those around you to also be active listeners. That full attention is silence. We've talked about this before. I mean, you have to silence your phones. You got to have your watches off. You got to have your speaker on your computer muted. You don't want to get those constant beeps every time you get an email. You could get 20 of them within an hour. So you
Microsoft
really
loves those
want to
beeps.
be, yeah, it's unbelievable. And so, I think just by cutting out the noise inside your office, you can actively grow your business just by giving more attention to the clients that you currently have, but doing it at 100%.
It's really powerful.
You had mentioned, wasn't there a quote, 30%? You can increase your productivity by 30% just by
30%.
Yeah, it's
Just
pretty.
30.
It's
Just
a lot.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, you think about uh, all the money that we spend on different initiatives and different things. Just helping them improve their active listening skills could boost 30%. So, like, if you had 20 internal referrals, and which good point to bring up, are you even tracking how many internal referrals? Because this is like one of those key numbers you've got to be able to understand. Like, okay, every single month, how many are actually getting to me, and then how many actually, are signed. That's two different numbers. But 30%, that'll boost up to 26. I mean, that's already, imagine the growth that you'll see just from that. I mean, the one thing I'll say too about the full attention, uh, a lot of us, we're like, this is not full attention, right? Those of you, you're watching the YouTube channel, I'm slumping over, but full attention is sitting up straight. It's squaring your shoulders. It's, to pause the typing. Cause sometimes, our tellers are like, hey, I've been there. Like, we want to keep doing it while you know, we're taking care of them, and we got to stop. Those are the things we've got to stop. And so then you look at some of these other ones, use verbal affirmations. I mean, these are things like, I see, go on, that helps me understand more. You want to give them a couple of those, small phrases to be able to fuel them, to kind of keep that conversation going. Because if they're doing this and they just look up, with their eyes, looking up that way, it's game over. Like, you're not building trust with the client. So it's just huge.
Those affirmations really build upon having that connection with the client. I mean, they're so important to be able to give those verbal cues that you're paying attention. And that goes along with the head nods and some of those other tasks that we talked about. I mean, think about the reflect and paraphrase. I mean, I love this one too.
Yep.
Especially when someone introduces themselves. I know this is kind of a different level of this, but when someone mentions, when someone introduces themselves, or I get introduced to somebody, I always make a point to say their name back.
Yeah.
Because then you kind of remember it, right? Well, I think by repeating or rephrasing or paraphrasing what the client's goals are, you're showing them that you're taking the time to fully understand it, and you're going to remember it. And I think that is really important inside that one-on-one meeting with the client.
Dan, I think that's an excellent point. Dan. See what I did there?
Yes, I like it. I like it.
You don't want to do it too
Everyone
much,
likes
but
hearing their name, right? And that don't we? Didn't we talk? Didn't we do a series on that, or we did a episode on that where people like hearing their name. It's
yep,
about the dopamine spike, right?
yep.
So when you say their name back, it automatically naturally gives them a dopamine spike, and again, that's going to add to the overall experience. That's going to build that connection, which is going to lead to more referrals down the road.
And teach your team about the generational communication differences. So if your teller's a Gen Z, they may not understand it, but at least teach them, hey, Mr. Cianci, we'll go with your dad. He likes to be called Mr. Cianci. Like he's okay with that, or sir, and so even some of those little generational differences all matter as well. Just powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and then I think the most important one of being an active listener, you talked it more in depth about this during the web series, the webcast, but avoid premature solutions. How many times does someone come in and say something inside the financial center, and we immediately jump with the solution?
Right. We
Oh,
just Yep.
you want a CD, right? We really need to kind of scale back again and really ask the questions, open-ended questions, actively listen and look and really decide whether or not that's the right solution for them.
Yeah. And a couple of the episodes that we've already done, I mean, we looked at some very specific, last one we talked about those referral cues, so important to for us to be able to know them, but to train our teams. I mean, that's so incredibly important. Uh so yeah, that listening part is huge. And when it comes to listening, if listening is the left hand, asking questions is the right hand. Like they just go hand in hand. And so, you can't be a great listener without learning how to ask great questions. And I like to
Sure.
say, you've got to become like uh, the Jedi of question asking. I don't know what a hip cool idea would be now. But I'm dating myself with a Star Wars reference. But you've got to be able to lean into that level of question asking because it just goes hand in hand. And so you think about it through open and closed questions. Closed questions, dead end. Like it's a yes or no. We're done here. Open, goodness, so it opens up so many opportunities.
Yeah, and I believe we also have a resource where we provide an open questions for financial professionals. Your resource is there out there. I think believe on your website. But if you're interested and you want to get a hold of that, you just reach out to us or put a question in the comments section. I'm sure Jason will be able to get it to you. But we have through our experiences, we've uncovered over how many, Jason? Over like 30 questions or 50
Well,
questions.
it started at 30, and so it's now morphed to 70. Because here's kind of where we went with it, and we didn't talk about this in the webcast, so this is extra. But one of the things that we teach, especially in our brand new resource, the Client Communication Playbook, is questions help you get to deeper layers in your client story. So it's like a layer, an onion. There's so many layers to it. You just want to kind of keep diving in. So what we did is for each of the 7 layers, it starts with the personal history, then kind of your financial history, just kind of keeps going all the way down to level 7, which is legacy stuff. We've put together a resource that has the best 2 questions to unlock that layer, to get access to that layer. Then what we did is we put the best 10 questions for each layer in a resource. So it's 70 questions. So even if you have a client meeting coming up, look at that, highlight, 2 different great questions and run with those. It will give your meeting some momentum because a lot of times, let's just be honest, we wing it. And now in the financial centers, sometimes we have to wing it, right? Because they're coming in off the street, we're dealing all that. But especially if by the time, Bob comes in, talks with the teller brings them over to us. okay, we saw the process happening. Now we're able to, we could at least be prepared and ask some of those questions. And so, yeah, don't ask the boring questions. Have some incredible, story unlocking questions ready.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, absolutely. I think that's. I mean, I think that's where you start. I don't think you cannot build a referral culture without you know building the questions, and that's a fantastic resource for everyone that's out there. When we're listening, obviously we got to ask the questions. That's why it's important, but we want to actively listen. Now, we talked a lot about the do's and don'ts, things to do, and I know we also talked about different types of open-ended questions. We kind of hit the open-ended questions already. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You want to grab that? Can you grab that slide that we talked about with the do's and don'ts inside the financial centers?
Let me find the right one. Sorry.
This is what I love about this is I can just totally catch you off guard.
That's the better listener one. The do's and don'ts. Oh, here we go. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And this
this is,
goes back to what, active listening?
yep, yep, yep. And you think about some of these, if we're being real honest, oof, yes, we all do some of these. But if we're cognizant of it, if we pay attention to it, we'll do them less. And so, interrupting is absolutely huge. Finishing, a sentence, it's cute with your best friend, but you know, with a client, potential customer, we got to let them finish. We got to let them get out what they want. You know,
Yeah, and that's
multitask
one
during it.
that I struggle with. I do
Yeah.
that sometimes, and then I'm like, why did I just do that? Because I don't know, because I'm impatient, right? Why am I impatient? Well, I'm so used to stuff coming at you at 100 miles per hour. So again, it's important for us to take the time to kind of really recognize where we need to improve on, and then actively try not to do it. And that's a big one, I think, for a lot of people.
Yep. Yep. I think the jargon is another big one. You know, I, we talk a lot about this because, obviously financial firms, banks, financial centers, they have to help their people become wealth experts, product experts. But then sometimes, it's just like listening to a doctor sometimes, like doctors talking to each other. It's like, what are they talking about? And then you get like, maybe a
You'd be
nurse that,
surprised. This is really common in the financial center world. I mean, there's times where I'm sitting on meetings, I'm like, what is that? And I'm trying to figure out based on what the content we're talking about. But there's times you're like, and I know every single person's experienced that. There's
yep.
every single person. So definitely something to avoid. Or if you're going to say it, follow it up with what it means.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
that
Use it. But then,
if you
yeah.
say it
Oh, yeah. This is
if you
why it's
say it
important.
multiple times, right? Inside, if you're going to say it multiple times inside a conversation, at least reference one time what it actually stands for.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then the jump to conclusion, that's a huge one because, and we've all been there. It's easy for us to just assume, and assumptions can get the best of us sometimes. We assume because maybe they walked in with a little hurriedly, or we assumed because they had a little edge to their voice when they started talking that they're upset. No, it just could be they stepped in a puddle on the way in, or we assume this is what they want to do. You got to listen first. Got to open up both ears and hear everything that's happening.
Active listening will not only make you a better person and a better advisor. It's going to help you build closer relationships. I mean, we can't stress that enough. All the experience we've had with financial professionals across the footprint. The one thing that always comes back to the people that are having the most success are the ones that are really good at connecting with people.
Yes.
And it's really hard to connect with someone without having the empathy or without taking the time to put away the distractions and fully understand them and give their attention. Let me tell you, if someone gives you 100% of their attention, you are going to stand out. because not everyone's doing it. I would say the majority of people don't do it. I sit down with the financial professionals all the time, even in those meetings. I mean, their core, and I get it. I'm coming in as a third party vendor, who's trying to help them build their business. So it's a little bit different than sitting with a client. But there's a lots of times where those meetings, I can't tell you. I would say the ratio is probably 80% of the time a meeting gets interrupted with some type of interruption. It's
Yeah,
a lot,
it is. That
and
is high. And regardless of, wouldn't it be great, especially as a leader? Okay, so let's, you know, sometimes we compartmentalize our different meetings. Okay, this one's not as important. This one's not as important. But wouldn't it be something though if we elevate the importance because we're meeting with another person, and every meeting is an opportunity. It's a noble task. It's an amazing opportunity to connect with someone. And so, you know, each of us can take that opportunity to say, okay, hey, this meeting may not get me anywhere, may not increase my bottom line, but who knows? Maybe a referral comes from it. You know,
you never
just to
know.
be able
You
to
never
step
know
into
what the
that.
next opportunity is going to come. You
Yep.
never know, and I think that just goes back to philosophy of having a positive attitude, caring about other people's, being in a trying to help others improve their themselves and get better, just by just really putting it down at a personal level. I think that's what you're talking about here.
Mhm.
Is that just if you can give everyone the same level of importance,
Yep.
that's going to bring your game up significantly. And that's where you're going to see that 30% increase. And that's where you're going to have more referrals, just because you will not leave opportunities on the table. Right now, if you're prioritizing individuals, you're leaving opportunities on the table. It may not be a lot. Who knows? We don't know. But the more you take the time to fully understand and connect with people are going to like you more. And
Yes.
if people like you more and gravitate toward you, they're obviously going to be willing to share that and with their friends and families to have you work with them as well.
Yep. Absolutely huge. Yeah. I love this quote we put up by the great Peter Drucker. Most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. I mean, that's like next
Wow.
level,
Yeah.
graduate level listening, because there's so many times people beat around the bush, right? They are trying to get to what they want to say, but it's our job as professionals to be able to read through the lines, to peer around the bush and, hear what they're actually trying to say. And when we do that, it's just incredible because they're like, wait a minute. How did you pick that up? Well, we picked it up because you emphasized the same keyword 4 times and we paid attention to it. All the things that we've talked about. I mean, all those things are important. And you said something earlier that we talked, I think it was in the last episode, where we talked about, hey, even you as a financial professional, you have to continue telling your story, and you have to get to know your colleagues so they build that trust. Again, it's that same way with your clients. The amount of time that you have, set some time, to ask some of those deeper questions just so you know more about them personally. Because once you have that, now it's amazing what can happen.
Yes, and the whole concept of what we're doing really revolves around the financial center and building a referral culture. So all of these different parts add up to one sum that can really help you get to where you want to go. Today was all about active listening. Without active listening, you really don't have anything, because you don't understand what someone's looking for. You can't really help them. So today's a big one. It's important. I believe, by really taking the time, and there's a ton of resources out there. We're going to provide a ton of resources, but there's also, you want to look and learn about, how to listen better. And Jason's got a ton of information, not only on his website, but also the people that he's interviewing in these podcasts. So much information that you can learn from, including on how to be a better listener. So just take that in mind. And with that, Jason, unless you have anything else that you want to add, I'm going to wrap it up here. And I'm looking forward to the next episode that we do here. And I appreciate all the time and effort you put into these. And I believe that we're really helping our fellow financial professionals across my footprint.
I can't wait. It's exciting. Thanks for letting me be a part.
Yeah, man. Talk to you soon. Take care.